Hello and welcome to another episode of UK Crossover, your UK-based Philadelphia 76ers podcast. As always, I am joined by Sam Oakley. Sam, how you doing?
I'm not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. So the NBA season is finally at a close. We'll briefly stop off at the finals. I think that's only right. A thoroughly enjoyable 7-game series. I think one of the best I can recall in recent memory. We had our predictions. We both went OKC, if I recall correctly. I don't think either of us really expected it to be this tight, but it wasn't quite the nicest of finishes given what happened to Halliburton. That was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was. Like you said, it was a really good series. One of the best, like sort of close match series that I didn't predict. I thought it would be over five or six, but yeah, it was a really intense series, and you got to see some real good defensive displays, some real good sort of clutch moments, and then it all ends just like that for the Pacers. And I know they went in at halftime leading, but that second half they were always going to come out and struggle. Like that mentality, we know what it's like when your player goes down injured, your best player, as we know, because it happens far too often with us, it just knocks your other players and everyone else for six. And I just don't think they were going to recover. And now it's going to be a big ask for them going into next season now.
Yeah. And, to see him, pounding the floor, crying. And I know some people probably didn't want the Pacers to win, be that because you're a bit of a New York fan, or maybe you just don't like Halliburton, or maybe you don't like his dad. I don't know. No matter, I can think of plenty of players who I have a severe dislike for, but if they were doing that, I'm thinking of, maybe a Jason Tatum or an Al Horford. If I had to witness them doing that, I'll be like, oof, you know what? That's just horrible. So, of course, we do wish him the best. That does mean, though, next season, as people have said, due to injuries across the East, not just in Indiana, it really is quite wide open. The Celtics are going to have a bit of an off year, then come back the year after. Indiana are now without their talisman. Fine, New York is still there. Milwaukee, I don't know if Giannis is going to be there come the start of the next season. Therefore, we should really be looking at a top 3-4 finish, right?
I mean, if Embiid's healthy, there's no reason not to think like that, right? So, and even if he's not like fully healthy and he misses a little bit at the start of the season, you'd still like to think that Maxi, PG, if he's at himself, McCain, and then whatever we do in the draft, should be enough to then see us over the line to get into that home court advantage sort of thing. I think Cavs, Knicks, us should be the top three sort of favourites. So I agree. It's going to be tough, I just don't want to. I just wouldn't want to call it right now. But that Daryl Morey's got to be licking his lips, going, not the fact that obviously, like you say, it's unfortunate we've had players get injured, but like to go, I could really get some free agents might be like, the East is weak this year. I'll go over to the East for a year and have a chance at getting some, free agents in the buyout market as the season goes on. Those ring chasers always come around, and December, January, start hearing rumblings of players that are like at poor teams and want to buy, chase a ring. It's going to be there for him, and even trades when they're dumping off salary. So I'd like to think that they would be one of the number one people as we get on. And I know it's months away, but to be like go into season with a strong team and then get some of those potential buyouts or players looking for a way out because their team's massively under succeeding, and maybe in the West, for example, and getting some players over to the East.
Yeah. No, it would certainly be an intriguing one. And, I've always said that Giannis, it looks like San Antonio for me. And I'd like to see that as well. I would like to see Giannis with Wemby. And obviously, because we're out East, it means nothing to us. So that'd just be nice to watch from afar. So we've had, NBA finals. We've had trades. Just before we hopped on today, CJ McCollum got traded. KD got traded the other day. Desmond Bain got traded. Drew Holiday this morning. So it's actually been quite an accelerated start to the off-season movements. We haven't even had the draft, and that is what this podcast is all about. We are once again talking about the draft. because just when you thought we had it figured out, we don't anymore. I think the last time we spoke, I was probably 85% sure. Yeah, Ace Bailey. Um, and I know we said, yeah, we might still draft him, but I'm gonna throw a hat in the ring and say, look, I don't want him anymore. And I think it's worth prefacing. Look, we know what's been said. We know he's come out, or rather, his representatives have said we want certain assurances. He needs to be the number one, and he wants to be able to grow in and be a superstar somewhere. And we got to remember this bloke's 18 years old.
Hmm.
Throughout his entire life, right from the word go, right from the first time he started playing basketball, he's been the best player on the floor. Everyone's lauded over him since day dot. And this is the first time where you get a bit of a rude awakening when actually there are people on this team who are much better than me. And the people who should be telling him this is just what happens when you get to the NBA. And, sort of when it gets to the point where you need to start being a bit more humble. Instead, he's doubling down. And it's because of the people around him, not him personally. So I don't think he himself is a bad kid. I just think I don't want to have any association with those who are representing him because they're going to cause far too much trouble than it's worth. That being said, if his name is called, are you still someone that would get behind the idea of drafting him, or are you just sort of out on him too?
Yeah, I think he hit it on the head with the representation that he's got. It doesn't sound great from that perspective that they're like advising him not to work out with us and certain teams where they don't think he's going to be the number one choice. And it seems like they wanted reassurance from us. We were going to draft him. Like he was like on our board before working out with us. Like, is he going to be, you're definitely going to draft him and you're definitely going to be starting him. And if you can't reassure us on that, which I don't think many teams are going to do, maybe the old Sixers might have done that, under previous general managers, but you're not going to do that. You're not going to commit fully unless you're a team that are absolutely desperate. And I think the latest, I'll go through it. I went through the latest mock draft earlier, and makes sense maybe with the trade that's just happened with him now being looked at with Washington. But yeah, I just think I'd want to avoid the representation, but I'd get behind him fully if we drafted him. It means that they've either done more sort of background work with him and maybe done something beforehand in meetings. So I think Maury's going to be quite cautious though. I don't think he will necessarily pick him, and if he does, I could see it being picking him to flip him and trade him.
Yeah. Well, I guess I guess you're right. If he picks him, we have to back him, don't we? It's not a lot of good booing him, is it? We gotta try and back him and hope that the representatives just sort of stay in their lane a bit. So with him being a bit more up in the air, both according to the bookies, him being going at number 3 is certainly those odds have widened. The next man up, as it were, was VJ Edgecombe. Now we worked him out, and it sounds as if it hasn't quite gone to plan. Nervousness was the word. Perhaps not a smooth shooting stroke. Now they are sort of 3 and 4, according to most mock drafts, and are relatively interchangeable depending on the flavor of your team, basically. And that leads me to wonder then, and should we just trade down? I know I've been a big supporter and a big proponent of this, so perhaps that I'm just sort of like, guys, now's the excuse. Now let's go trade down. But it just seems that it takes so much stress out of the situation if we just trade down.
Yeah, I think with the trading down though, with the way that it's now reshaped, you're probably not going to get one of those. I just don't know if you're going to get one of the guys you want to get because the position. Again, I don't know what Maury's going to do, but for me, you want to have either K2, VJ, Ace. But obviously, we were saying about that. But you want I just want a wing or a small full, a shooting guard or a wing that's legit in that position. And I just don't know if we move down that would get that prospect. However, if things are wrong and maybe some of the guys aren't going to go where they're saying they're going to go, it might be okay. But I mean, K2 in the latest one's been linked with Charlotte. So again, with the trade that's happened with Washington, it looks like they're probably going to go forward potentially with Ace. So that looks like it's going to be a potential lock. So it is worrying if we did move back that we might not get the guy we want. So, but then I think Maury's probably done the bit of due diligence to make sure that if he does move back, he gets the guy that he wants. But I'd be against moving back unless it was like a player involved that can be a role player for like I know a wing role player maybe. I don't know. Definitely a younger, talented player that isn't a Kyle Lowry or Eric Gordon. Someone that's you don't want those aging players anymore. We need those young athletic players. So I'd take a raw athletic player that's maybe struggled to make a massive impact this year and a move back at worst case, but. K2 moving up, now being a top 5-6 pick rather than a top 8 to 10 pick. He's obviously impressed. So, yeah, I do worry about the VJ reports. Obviously, that he didn't do well, but I heard that they said mentally he sounded good and they were happy with how he was when they spoke to him, which is the complete opposite to what Fultz was. So maybe that works. Maybe they've learned that. Okay, he did all right in the gym, but then upstairs wasn't quite there. And the same with Simmons. In the gym looked good, but upstairs wasn't quite there. So maybe they're just going with let's go with the intelligent player now because he'll eventually learn to play.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes people have off days. That's one workout. People just have off days. So I don't want to be overly critical. I'm going to go out and say I think we should just draft Knipple. And you are absolutely right. He's shot up in people's estimations. Meanwhile, Bailey's gone down. So if that means draft him at 3, I am completely behind that. I think it just takes so much stress out of the situation. It's very easy to plug him in. If we need him to play the 2, we can, but he can absolutely play the 3. Whereas with VJ, he can play the 2, probably not play the 3, not really play the 1. Bailey, fine, yeah, he could play the 3 or 4, but there is so much baggage that I don't even want to get involved with. And more recently, today, I even saw reports saying, we're going to go after potentially, look, it's all speculation, Johnson from Texas. And that just, again, it doesn't make sense to me. Probably the best shooter in the whole draft. But what good is Johnson for us right now?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that New Orleans have just traded McCollum means they're probably going to take Johnson. So again, but if we move back, there's not going to be the guarantee he's there. But would I want to take him at 3? I don't think I would. But I've only watched a bit of YouTube of him, and I'm purely judging him on his height. And I would like someone that's 6'5", 6'6", ideally in this team because they might be able to move to the 3 rather than a 6'3", 6'4" like he is type of player. So yeah, I like him. If he was available if we move back, I would do it. But I don't know if anyone's going to trade with us to move back. I think the most likely trade partners are someone like the Nets who've got several picks in this draft.
Got an abundance, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if he'll be available at 8. To go there, and I don't think any of the other guys. I mean, New Orleans and Washington with the trades they've done, they might be up for trading, but I don't think they will. I think they'll stick.
And I think the one more recently, again, we had Maluak, and we've spoken about him. I think we've spoken about him like a fair bit actually for someone who I don't think either of us really want. But we've just said fine, good player, but limited, and that's not who you spend one of your lottery picks on. A limited 5.
Yeah, well, unless there's a big secret that we don't know about and Joel is absolutely done and never plays again, then it might be worth picking him up. But I think if we did that, it'd make the whole world obvious that Joel's pretty much done because that you don't draft a centre like you say that high unless that's going to be your centre for the next several years. So yeah, agree.
Yeah, and so it is coming Thursday, and let's just assume we're not trading. We are just having that number 3 pick. I've already said I'm going to take Knipple if I was Daryl Morey right now. Who would you take?
That's a very good question. I should have had that answer ready for you before the pod, but I think hearing, I'd like to give, I'd like to give VJ a chance because of what they've actually worked him out. I don't know. I haven't heard about the K2 stuff, but I probably would take K2 still. I think Kneppel's just he's gone up in people's estimations. He's been at a winning, and a part of me goes, do we copy the Eagles in the sense of they take the best players, right? So they've taken players that win their conferences, that get to finals, get to national championships, and you know I think Howie Roseman, for those guys that watch and a part of the group that are Eagles fans as well, he said it hurts him to take these Bulldogs, but they've been one of the most successful teams in the college football ranks. So I think just copy that maybe in the NBA and just pick up people that are used to winning and got that mentality, because it didn't work with the guys that were highly rated before. You know, Ben Simmons at LSU didn't make the tournament. Fultz the same, didn't go into a tournament and didn't do well in the backup tournament. Do you go? Is it the same for these guys that didn't get into the final four, or even like, you know, you take probably, you know, maybe the elite eight, but you really want people that played in the final four or the final and have that winning mentality. So I'll probably go K2 now that he's high on the list.
Right, so it looks like we're in agreement there as well. So we've got the first round, then of course we've got the second round on the second day. I'm not entirely sure I am totally behind that sort of NFL style whereby you've got the second round come in later on.
We disagree on something for once, and I actually like it.
It's pointless. It's so it's good. Oh, go on. Let me hear your side of that.
It just gives them a chance to have their own day, the second round guys, right?
But right, I hear what you're saying, but in the NFL, and you know better than me, so feel free to correct me where I'm wrong. I mean, like, you look, Tom Brady goes in the seventh round. There has been some absolute corking picks in every single round of the NFL continuously. I know the combat could be, well, hang on, Jokic, Middleton, Draymond, they've all come in the second round. And like, yeah, you're right, but they're rare. That's why those stories are well known. The second round is most likely in every year going to produce a good role player. In the NFL, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds could easily include Pro Bowlers, Super Bowl winners. Easily. In fact, you're more likely to find a Pro Bowl winner, a Pro Bowler in every single round. So I just find it a bit like, okay, I can see what you're trying to do, but it just doesn't translate.
Yeah, I think the TV money now, just to spread it out and give more opportunity to these guys, have a bit of screen time, get to know them a bit more, because it feels rushed. Because you know, I remember trying to stay up and watch when we had all these multiple second round picks and the first during the bad days of the process, and going, who's going to be the secret player that we found, you know, and you, or hoping that you move back into the first round by moving some of those early second round picks and stuff like that. And it is nice to have that little bit more. But you are right. I mean, the likelihood is that some of these players are going to, you know, probably not play as a starter for a championship team or, you know, a legit playoff team. And, you know, you probably actually would find that, bar the guys you mentioned, there's only a handful then that have, outside of them, that have actually been starters regularly for a winning franchise. It's very rare to find a second round guy that can contribute to the level that would allow them to be very noticeable. But I just think it's nice for them to have their own day, and you can have a bit more in depth about them, because those guys are the ones you're definitely not really going to know. So it's nice to get like a little 10-minute segment on, here's Dave Smith from, you know, the University of Utah, or you know, I've seen it where there might even be a Penn State basketball player being picked. You know, learn a bit more about them and going, okay, yeah, he might make an actual bit of a difference because he's got all this raw potential, but he's been on a poor team. So I think it'd be good to have the second round. But I get your point. The likelihood of someone on night two being famous for other than that 15-minute segment when they get picked and there's a bit of write up about them. That's their fame done probably for their lives, for the majority of them.
And again, I mean, I hear your point, because immediately I think about the Jokic pick again. I mean, rather infamously, his pick was taken during an ad break, which is ironic for what, a 3-time MVP, Finals MVP, NBA champion, multiple-time All-Star, all NBA team. I think it was on during like a Pepsi advert or something. I'm not sure if that's adding to the story a bit, but it was some sort of advert, and it is just okay. We're gonna not look at that with too much fondness. I will quickly just plug an article that I put up half hour before we came up here. I've been doing a lot of due diligence, bit of research. As I've professed on this podcast before, I am by no means a draft expert, but given the nature of where we were with our picks, I felt it was only right that I find out more about the options we have. So I did an article already about Ace Bailey trade up, trade down, VJ. I've now done an article with 8 players who are at multiple different pick points. So let's say we get some mad trades that take place over the next couple of days, or indeed on draft night, which means that we are now trading or picking at number 15, number 28, number 22, and indeed some that we can maybe get with our second round pick. I've got a couple of players you might want to just keep an eye out for. I'm not going to go through all of them. There are about 8 on the list, so please, if you can, dedicate a bit of time just to have a read through. I really appreciate it. But one guy I do want to quickly shout out and really mention, because I really, really like the look of him, Liam McNeely out of UConn. I'm not sure if that's the name you've come across before. 6'8", shoots the lights out, can defend to a decent rate. Whoever gets him, that's going to be some steal, I think. And I would love it if we could manage to grab him. He's almost like, I think, a worse version of K2, ever so slightly. So if we could get K2 and somehow get McNeely, I'm going to be a very happy man. But yeah,
no, I haven't heard much of him. So no, I will. Well, obviously, I'll read the article and then obviously do a bit of research and see if I back up your analysis of some of these players.
Well, hopefully it reads well. Obviously, of course, as a teacher, if I make a few errors, I do sometimes feel a touch embarrassed. So, I would really, really appreciate that. And then, of course, another thing I need to plug is on draft night. If you want to be in with a chance of winning a lovely T-shirt, which is currently modeled by Sam. So if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see Sam in a lovely Sixers jersey. Now, Sam was one that kindly donated one of these jerseys for us to give away to the PSI community. So, Sam, how is it you acquired these?
Well, being lucky, I brought my tickets through a friend's page on Facebook. He said, we buy and sell tickets on this page, so you avoid all the fees and stuff. And this guy was like, I said, I'm coming over from England and that. And he was like, I'm a member, season ticket holder, so you know it's legit. And he was like, oh, could you come over from England? I'll do some stuff for you. I'll let you know. And then he messaged me, and then the irony of a small world comes up where he goes, "Are you Sam from England that rings Gargano's show on 97, or rang it when he was on 97.5?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "Awesome. I love the fact that you're a big Sixers fan, so I'll make sure they give you the best goodies." So yeah, me and my friend went and picked up these bags, and I got these T-shirts in there. And my friend is a XL, maybe a bit bigger, so the size was too small for him, so he kindly said give it to one of your friends in the UK that's another Sixers fan, so thought I'd pass it on to you. So yeah, it's season ticket holders were the only ones that could get these on the City Edition nights. So yeah,
brilliant. And you and I are both big fans of City Edition jerseys, especially the Spectrum ones. And I think the beauty of these sort of T-shirts that you get on game days, and especially when it's exclusives, is that fine, they're a T-shirt with a cool print, but it's like you said, you can only get those if you attend those games, which makes it feel quite special. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning that, it's dead simple. Just tell me who you think we're going to pick. If you think it's VJ, write VJ. If you think it's Ace Bailey, write Ace Bailey. If you think it's going to be Con Knipple, go with that. If you think it's going to be that fella Liam McNeely that I just talked about, write that. Whatever you think, You get it in that box. If there's a multiple people that have gone for the same answer, your name gets put into a hat along with others who get that same person, and then we'll draw it out, and whoever gets lucky will win the shirt. So how you need to do that is, firstly, just make sure you're a member, and then what you're going to do is enter through the links which can be found on my Twitter, my Instagram, and indeed through the group chats which you will be in or added to once becoming a member. And then, fingers crossed, you get a bit of luck come your way. Now, with our giveaways, we've already had one lucky winner after the OKC prediction. This person, and I will have to give him a shout out, so it was Erin Rutter, predicted OKC in 7, Shea, finals MVP, and Lou Dort to have the most fouls. Now, he didn't have the most. He had the second most, but the most on Oklahoma City Thunder. So you can only say fair play. That is some prediction. And she is going to be going home with a Jared McCain jersey, fresh for the new season. And that's just
Nice.
a taste of what you can get, of course, with PSI and Philly Sports International. So this is only going to be a short one, only a quick 25-minute session, and I think we stuck to that pretty well. We will have a little debrief after the draft, and once again, I find myself pretty excited. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen. I have a strong feeling we're not going to do anything daft. I think the correct decision is going to be taken, and it will be nice to just sit back and watch the events unfold, won't it? Hopefully.
Agree, yeah, and you can enjoy the second round night.
You get twice the fun, don't you?
Exactly. That's it. It's the first time we've disagreed on something on the pod, really. So that's a new one for people to listen to. But yeah, absolutely. We got 2 nights, and if you're a Flyers fan, you've got the NHL draft this week as well. So you got 2 drafts back, pretty much back to back this week.
Actually, I think the fella running PSI for the Flyers, he's put up a little draft prediction as well. So there's something to be won there as well. Plenty on offer. The fun does not stop. And then you've got your fantasy football setting up soon.
Have you entered that?
I think I have. I'm gonna have to consult that. I was speaking to one of my friends who knows someone who's just religious when it comes to the NFL. The amount of legwork you've got to put into fantasy football is crazy. So I'm looking forward to it. I might get a bit biased towards some of my favorites. I've been told who my favorites are. I'm going to have to keep stum about for obvious reasons. But if you've been listening long enough, you probably have a good inclination as to who I tended to lean towards. But I'm gonna try and keep that one quiet for now. But yeah, it's a really exciting few weeks lined up. Hopefully the Sixers come out of this looking better than they were beforehand, and then we can have a proper assessment as to where we're going to go, because after that it's free agency. It's figuring out what's going to happen with Quentin Grimes, what's happening with Yabusele, who else is available on the cheap, and probably is always going to be some trades. So going to have a think about who's going to be on their way in to Philadelphia and indeed on their way out. So it does not stop here. In fact, it's just beginning, really.
It's the biggest drama league in the world. I don't think there's more drama in a league in any league in the world, including football, soccer, NFL. I think you can argue those other sports are more entertaining than basketball, because basketball's obviously a prolonged season, but there's so much drama with the way that players are. You can never sleep. I mean, when we wake up to Drew Holiday being traded, and like you say, and we enjoy a podcast, and as we're about to start it, someone else, CJ McCollum traded. It's just, it never stops.
No, it really doesn't. So yeah, that is all that we've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening in. Like I said, if you would like to read some of those articles, just feel free to head on over to PSI, so Philly Sports International, on our website. Those articles are free to watch, or free to read rather, even if you are not a member. So that is absolutely okay if you want to just have a quick flick through that. Of course, we'd love you to sign up to our membership schemes. So please do consider that if you're able to do so. You get access to a whole lot of great things. So, our group pages, our giveaways, meetup events, watch-alongs. We've already started the organization of our first trip over to Philadelphia in our Birds Fly Home. So a lot of really exciting opportunities available to you. And finally, from me, before we say our goodbyes, is last podcast we had one of our good friends, Ben, on the show. Now, Sam, I'm sure we both I loved having Ben on. I thought he was fantastic. I'm sure you can agree with that. So if you're a member and you want to have a chat with us, you want to have a podcast with us, just message us in the group chat, private message me or Sam, and we'll bring you on. You know, I think having him on was fantastic, wasn't it?
It was great. Yeah, the only person that's banned is Sam because he's from he's from a Pompey postcode. But otherwise, anyone else is more than welcome. Yeah.
Well, you heard it there. If you're from Portsmouth, you're not allowed in. We may make a couple of exceptions. I don't think we're at a point where we can have a full-on veto.
No, I'm joking, Sam. You can come on. Yeah.
But no, it'll be absolutely fantastic to get as many people on as we can. Because obviously we chat to a lot of you lot, but to have that proper opportunity to get to know people as well would be really brilliant. And just to hear, you know, how you guys just got into the Sixers. I remember like Ben's story, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Proper retro, proper cool, you know, watching all these NBA tapes from back in the day after getting his magazines and WH Smith. I thought that was like, that's the way I wish I did it. Not my boring, I like history. So yeah, really, really cool. So thank you so much to Ben for coming on last week. We did absolutely love it. But yeah, that will be us. We are finally going to say our goodbyes. So Sam, where can we find you?
Yes, obviously in the PSI chat. I think Samo is my WhatsApp name. I keep changing it. And on Twitter, UK. I'm in the UK 76ers chat if you're still in that. And I am Sam UK Sixers fan. Again, need to double check that on Twitter. But otherwise, follow Ben. You'll find me. And where can they find you, Ben?
So at UK76ers on Twitter, at UK76ers on Instagram. Of course, we are all part of one big happy family, and that is PSI. That is at Philly Sports International on Twitter and Instagram. So, like I said, if you like anything you heard and you want to be part of any of those giveaways, comps, whatever, please do sign up to our membership. I promise you will not regret it. And if you do, it's 1 year and you can get rid. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. Just dip a toe, see if you like it, and I'm sure you will. But otherwise, that is goodbye from me, goodbye from Sam, and we'll see you all next time after the Sixers have absolutely stormed the draft, we hope.